Okay, we got a different video today. This one is going to be about this Excel table I've made, which takes iRacing's results, race results, and makes a better season standings than what you get. So if you've never ran league races, this is the season standings screen where you get very minimal information. You get the points, you get wins, you get average start and finish, and then any penalty points or any bonus points you won during the race are all scored, and nothing else is. So you would have to go into schedule if it works, and you'd have to actually look at the results to see, hey, who got a top 10, who won the pole, who led laps. Or I made this Excel table which scores all this. So for the K5 Championship, we've done 4 races so far. I was going to enter race 5, and I thought I'd make a video showing how to do that because it's needs a little guidance, I think. And I don't think I've released, maybe I've released table, but anyway, the table, a blank table, this one will be available in the description if you want to download it. So what this does, it just takes a up to 36 race season, and you can score everything that's available with the iRacing results page. So you can keep track of wins, your starts, your, go by make, your pole positions, your wins, top 5s, top 10s. There are a couple hidden columns in here. So starting top 5, starting top 10. You can also hide these columns if you don't want to see them. Your DNFs in a league, if you disconnected, you'll get a DNF. Your average start and finish, laps led, all this, laps completed, your personal completion percentage. So not everybody shows up for every race, but if you show up and you complete 100% of the laps you've attempted, you'll get 100% here, or the total season lap completion percentage. It tracks positional gain and loss. So if you start in the back and you go to the front, you get positive score here, and if you lose positions, you get shows as negative. It'll track incidents and your incidents per start. And then over here on the right side, let me split this here so there's kind of a lot going on, but slide this over. So these are your finishing positions, and then back this way there's more stuff. So qualifying, you got results for qualifying, results for lap completion, or laps completed, total laps completed. There's more stuff back here. Points. So points are automatically tabulated. You don't have to enter any points. It's just scoring what iRacing, whatever the league is scoring for points. Mover, so your position gain and loss. And there's laps led. There's incidents, DNFs, and then drops, which I can go through in a second. But basically, when you start a season, all this will be in TBD format because nothing's been entered. So it'll look like this. So when you come in, you just put in your series name here, and you only have to do this on one sheet. So if we're doing another K5, we put K5 Championship, if I can spell. So that will go here. There's many tabs down below. Most of them should update if you just go to the points sheet and put your league name here. That should auto update on every sheet. And then your track names will go, AC3 through, you can have up to 36. I basically designed this for NASCAR Racing 2003 season, but I ended up using it for iRacing. So you can do up to 36 races, which is basically a full cup season. Standard format points, none of that chase playoff bullcrap. That is a little over my head right now. I haven't figured out how to integrate that into this. So just a standard points format works fine. And so if we have tracks here, we can put Daytona, Rockingham, if I can spell, you know, all those get entered here, and I can, yeah, we can go through, we can go back to this sheet. So yeah, we've done many races. We've done 5 so far. So these are the races for our league, or the league I'm in, and then I've just used a shape to kind of block off this side of the results, which won't be utilized. Yeah, so you could also sort, you know, if you wanted to see what was the finishing order for Daytona, you can sort by any of these drop downs. You can sort highest to lowest. Typically, if you want to sort by points, you just come over here to the F box points, and you can sort, you know, largest to smallest, and that'll give you your point standings. It does track week to week. If you remember to update that, I can show you how to do that. So that's just the points sheet. We also have a summary sheet, which this will track, you know, race to race, what kind of happened, what went on. There's some things in here that not every league will have. So right now we have a lot of slots open and not everybody makes the field. So I've been putting in this qualified drivers sheet, which is, this is all manually entered, but for the most part it'll automatically track, and I'll show you how this works. We'll do an entry here in a minute. You know, it calculates how many drivers were on the lead lap, who's won the pole, what was their time, you know, how much did they get the pole by, race winner, what was their margin of victory, stuff like that. That's all in here. You can kind of take a glance through. This is what it tracks. You do, for the tires, you do have to manually input that. I thought it was fun to see how many tires theoretically are made. And if you don't like one of the tabs, you can always just come up to the top, right click on it, and just hide, and it'll still be there, but it'll just disappear from the view. So we have a summary tab. There's also a season summary tab, which this one's a little more involved, I guess. It's not as ironed out. So some of these formulas, this is 2019 Excel. Maybe newer Excel's better, but there's some things in here that won't auto update. You actually have to go in and hit Control Shift Enter to get the equation to re-establish. So there's these little, it disappeared on me, but there's these little, if you look where my mouse is, in the equation bar at the top there, or formula bar, there's a little bracket. Any equation that has a bracket, to get it to redo the equation, you have to hit Control Shift and Enter, and it'll basically reestablish or rerun that equation. That was probably not an equation that needed to be reran, but I don't know which. I mean, at this point, I don't know which formula would need to be reestablished, because I think I've updated it. But anyway, this season summary sheet is not perfect. You'll probably find bugs in it, and it won't work for you. But it's there if you want to use it. There's also manufacturer scoring for points. Now, this is old school Winston Cup payouts. So right now the payouts are only 963 or 964 and 3. You know, depending on the order of the manufacturer finishing. Right now, my understanding is Cup does, I think it's 40 for the winner and 35 for second, and then it goes 34, 33, 32. And there's different scoring, so this might not apply if you're doing, you know, depends how you're doing manufacturer standings, or even if you are, you know, if you're not, then don't even worry about this. But we're doing the 87 cars, so these are the 87 car ID numbers that are referenced, which if we go over to a race sheet, that corresponds with whatever is in column B for the car ID. So like 154 would be the Buick, and 124 is the Chevy, and 125 is the Ford, etc., etc. These are the two numbers for the 2003 Cup cars. So if you were running those, you would just punch in 201 here and 202, and theoretically, if we ever got more, you could put the Dodge in the whatever the other one is, Toyota or the Pontiac, I guess, depending on which one we got. I don't assume we'd get the Toyota, but anyway, yeah, this scores highest finish, so pull the highest make, score them, the amount of firsts, the amount of seconds, thirds, and fourths they've got. These are the points for that. And then there's relative finish. This is just how it tabulates, so obviously it pulls the highest number was the Buick for Daytona, and then the second highest number was the Chevy. And then car stats, this is another sheet that might not work for you. You probably don't need it, but it is there. If you can figure it out, that's great. The one you probably use, there is a power rankings sheet here, which basically just scores against everybody else, your win rate, your top 5 rate, your average finish, your average start, your positional gain, lap completion, laps led, your attendance, because sometimes, you know, with a league, not everybody shows up every week, and your total incidences. You can change how these are weighted. So right now, I have attendance weighted very high just because it is a league. It is important for the power rankings that people show up. So right now I have attendance ranked very high, but you can change this if you want. It scores the last 3 races, but we could put in the last 4 races, and that'll change the numbers. You know, we can resort these based on 4 races. We can sort it based on 1 race, and that'll automatically update here. There is a previous power ranking that is just copying this over to last week, or copying these results over to the power rankings. So when you input a new entry, it basically remembers last week and can see the changes. And then also in here, these are where you're going to put your results for the race, and we can run through that now. So if we go to the iRacing UI, back out. So on the left, there is the league table, and then that'll bring you to up next, but we want to go to my leagues at the top and go into the league that you want to score. You're going to go to the seasons page, and it should show the active seasons. That's where we got our season standings, which are lackluster, lacking information. So we did Darlington last night, so I'm going to go into Darlington, go to the results page. This is what you're getting, but you're going to get in Excel format. So down in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a download button, and we want the CSV file. That's what Excel reads. So if we click that, that's going to go to our browser, and it's going to give us an event result, which looks like this. Now this has most of the information we want. It's not everything yet, but we can Control A. We want to copy the results. We don't want to insert the sheet into our table. We want everything. Because these tabs here, race 1, race 2, race 3, these the naming of the tabs is very important as it gets referenced throughout the sheets. That's how it finds the results. So you don't want to change the name. That's why you don't insert a sheet. You just copy the whole thing. Control A, or you can highlight everything if you want. Gonna Control C copy, and we're going to come over to race 5, and you got to put it top left corner, A1, because everything gets referenced based off the cell it falls into. So that is the first step. And then, because we're tracking additional stuff, we want all the race result summary stuff, which shows up here, and you can highlight all this. So if you go to average and you just copy all this, that we can control copy again, come back to our K5 or whatever your league is. Oh, hold on, I gotta back up. I do this all the time, and this is why I wanted to make a video. So before we do this, before we enter new information, if we want to track points and see the pluses and minuses, we want to highlight all the previous week's results up to points for everybody and control copy. And we're going to come over to the previous points. And this is also important. You don't want to just paste it. You want to paste just the values. You don't want the formulas in there, because the formulas, they're going to get all mixed up. So you just want to paste the values. You want to do that with the points. You also want to do it with power rankings. Power rankings, you only need to get up to the power rank, come down, control copy, and you can just overwrite previous week's power rankings and points. So you want to do that before we do this. So we're going to do this again, because I always make that mistake. So now we can copy all this. This is the event results, race results, back into A1. It'll take a second. There's a lot of calculations going on. Now we can come back into iRacing UI. For the results page, you're not going to be able to right click to copy. You have to use a control C to copy these event results. Now this goes in Z1. You have to put it here in Z1, because otherwise it won't read anywhere. And you're not going to be able to see it because the cell or the text color is wrong. It's made for a black background. So you can just go back to normal styling and it'll revert it back to standard Excel format. Another thing here, you can keep track of tire sets, but that's something you have to manually remember. Another thing I've done here is kind of spit out, because we're tracking who's driving what car. I need to get the car make. You don't necessarily have to have this, but I am copying that race to race. So that'll just, what this is doing is just taking the G9 cell, the H9 cell, and the car ID cell, which is over here in B, and that's just putting them here where I can easily copy and paste them. So you just drag these down for all the results, and it basically just takes this G and H cell, which normally you probably could just come here and go, okay, I want G and H, and you're just going to copy these over to the entry list. But for this exercise, I need all this. So we're going to copy all this info, Control C. We're going to come to the entry list. Now, this is going to be the same whether this is your first race or your 10th race, 5th race, doesn't matter. I just noticed I probably need more entries here. Hold on. So if we need more room, we just drag that down. So what this is going to do, so this is your entry list of all the drivers. What it does, why it's important, is it will let you know who is duplicated throughout this list. So we're just going to paste the values again. So if a name appears above, so we inserted all our stuff in cell 84, A84. So any names that are highlighted have already raced, and we need to take them out. So Mikola was the only one who hasn't entered a race in the last 4 races. So we need to delete basically everybody who is highlighted in yellow. For this sheet, why this one has the same make check. If one of these drivers had a make they weren't using, it automatically triggers that. For our league, that's important because we're trying to stick to the same vehicle all season, but it might not matter for you. So you probably just, if you don't want to see that, you just hide it, and then you don't have to see it anymore. But I need that sheet, that cell. Okay. Yeah. So if you, anybody who's highlighted can be deleted. So we just can bulk delete these. And I'm just hitting delete. I'm not hitting backspace. It's just the delete key on the keyboard. So what this does, why are we grabbing the ID? What is the ID? So the customer ID is assigned, it's a unique number assigned to the customer. So like the card number can change session to session, especially in a league format where basically it's first come first serve on car numbers. So those aren't going to remain the same. So I've just used the customer ID, and that's how I'm identifying everybody. It also makes it easy to sort, because the AI also, they have a number that gets assigned to them, at least in a league format. So far this has worked for the AI as well. So after we delete the drivers, we got to make sure we get everybody, because right now there's a big gap to Mikola. So we just come up here and sort lowest to largest, tends to work. And then when we insert into points, we don't even need these 2 columns. They're going to get referenced. So why it's important they get copied over here is because this is basically a master list. So in the points sheet, it's looking for your user ID number, but rather than using your user ID number, it's going to reference, your name or the driver name and the driver make. So those are important to be in the list, but they're not important to copy. So when we want to update points, we just copy that ID list, and these are going to go in C. So I have C really small, but you can see these are the car ID numbers for every driver. So if everybody's, if you just sorted by points and everybody's towards the top, you can just come here, and we're going to paste values. Make sure we paste values because we don't want to be overwriting formulas. So that will now, let me get back that to small size, something like that. Now we can resort. Oh, we're not done. We gotta go over power rankings, and we do the same thing here. We just paste the driver IDs into both those sheets. And now we have new points, so we can sort by largest points. And why did that not grab? I should be grabbing Darlington. Oh, okay. So I figured it out. So because I have this summary sheet here, we have to see how many people were actually signed up for the race, because we had 50 entries and 9 were disqualified. Only 41 drivers were entered into the race, so I had to enter this qualified driver's number here. So anyway, I can revise that sheet. So you basically, it's just going to take whoever signed up for the race can enter here. I can revise that so it doesn't do that hang up, that'll probably confuse people, confuse me. Anyway, we're still not quite done. So one thing you'll notice in the summary page, we don't have the poll times. So that's the other thing that we have to manually grab. So if we go back into iRacing UI, we do have to come over to the qualifying session. And for the pole sitter, we got to grab the best lap without the colon. And that actually, we put that not in this sheet because this is the one we copied in, but on our race sheet, we have to find starting position 1 and put their qualifying time in. And then we got to do that again for the second place. So second here, that goes there. And that should give us, yep, that gives us the separation of that. And then that's pretty much it. So we have new points. We can see who gained positions and lost positions. Now this also has a drop component to it. So if you run multiple races in a season and you are allowing the worst results to fall off, however many you want. So right now we have 5 races completed. The rules for this league are we have 2 drops. So how do you enable the drops? Well, one, you put the number in that you want. Because we're so early in the season, we haven't enabled the drops yet, but to enable drops, if you come over to points, it's kind of confusing because there's kind of 2 cells here. But below points, there's this box. If you click the box, you can see this second arrow popped up. So now we can score points with drops. And that'll basically take, if we go all the way to the end of the sheet. So these, I think this is total points. That is summing a table. Okay, so this is the total points of, it should be labeled, but it's, oh, it is. It's in red. Let's change this. Okay, so we got, these are the total points. These are the points with drops. And then these are basically ranking your highest finish, your second highest finish, your third highest, all the way out. We can turn that on. So this will take all your finishes all the way out. You know, you got 36 of them, or you can have 36 races. So this will score highest to lowest. What's your first highest, second highest, third highest points, and then basically based off the race completion, it'll just axe, because we've done 5. So right now all the points is totaling these columns. The points with drops, it's going to drop those last 2 columns and it's only going to score this. So if you haven't made all the races, it's going to count, you know, the 2 you've signed up for and 1 that you have missed as a 0. But for somebody who has made every race, that's just going to drop their lowest 2 scores out of the however many races. Right now we've done 5. So, you know, we can resort now. You don't want to, if you're doing points with drops, you just got to keep in mind, you know, points with drops. Now we can resort by points with drops, and you can see, you know, the positional change from last week where we ran 4 races, but there was no drops. If we enable drops now, you can see who gains and who loses based on implementing the drops. So that's something fun to kind of play with. You know, you could, if you wanted to, adjust this on the fly, but for now we're gonna go back to standard, no drops, so I can update the league on where we are with points and stuff. But yeah, if you watch this, thanks for watching. There will be a blank one of these down in the description. which will look like this. So you just got to do the same thing. If you're doing a league, you know, just put your name in here, or league name, and then you can put your races up here, and it'll basically auto tabulate as you go. I will adjust. I guess I can leave this in. If it's a problem for people, I can update another. I can make another sheet and just eliminate this altogether, and then it'll just take the registered drivers as the driver numbers, and then you won't have that issue with signing up. I can also make a dumbed down version if somebody doesn't want all this stuff, you know, or you know, if you don't want it, you can just delete the sheet, I guess. That works too. I would leave all these races in here. So this goes all the way out to 36. I would leave all the races in there, but you know, if you don't want the season summary, you can just right click, delete that sheet, will be gone forever. Well, until unless you download the Excel file again, but the manufacturer, you know, if you don't want that, you can delete it. I'll just leave them in here and you can play with them if you know Excel, know what you're doing. Play around with it. There is a how to use sheet. This is pretty outdated, so I wouldn't rely on it. But it is there. It does have some instructions. This is like very, very early on screenshots when I was kind of building it. It does cover the basics, so that will help you if you get in a bind. But yeah, that's the video. That's how to use this contraption of a sheet that makes sense to me. Hopefully it makes sense to you. Yeah, thanks for watching.